welcome to the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast, where all things football are injected right to your veins, with your hosts, Matt Donnelly, Calvin Shoemake, and Jeff Mueller.
And welcome to the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast. This is episode 38, and today we have the Ayatollah of fantasy rock and rolla with us today, Adam Rank. How you doing, Rank?
Oh, I'm wonderful. That intro, that really concerned me. I'm like, the production value. Like, I don't even know if NFL Fantasy Live has production value of such merit. Like, that was really good. That's really impressive. Like, I do a lot of these, and I go on here like, okay, like, it's so funny. I think it was Kevin Smith who once said this, that all the great filmmakers, like the current, like the younger generation, the Kevin Smiths and the Jon Favreaus and stuff like that, are now making YouTube videos and streams and TikToks and things like that. They're not making motion pictures anymore. And I think that's a testament to it. Because I'm like, geez, Louise, that's awesome. You're so good. That's and I'm not even talking about the mustache, but like the whole production of that intro was amazing. I'm blown away.
So basically, I just cut the audio, and I'm like, hey, Finero, can you do something with this real quick? And he put that whole thing together there. And yeah, for me, I ain't that smart. I really don't have any great qualities about me. So, but I do know what? I do know where to find information and who to trust with that information. So that's where you see the fence, the little graphics there, the little snake eyes around you, the intro video. Like, we've got Bob Gilchrist on graphics. We got Finero kind of doing the video there. And then we've got Bobby G, absolutely. He wanted to sneak in the back room here, so at some point, but I was absolutely.
That's an old school name of like when I had 249 Twitter followers. I think Bobby was one of them. Like, he's been around. Like, I see that name and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that guy. Like, I think of like the journey that I've been on, and you think of, just things like that of guys from Twitter and whatever. You're like, oh my God, that guy's been around for a long time. Also, I wrote this kid's name down too. I want to make sure that I shout out Josh Nelson, because he said something very nice about me on Twitter, which is very rare. Like, you stand out. If you say something nice about me on social media, it really sticks out. It's like wearing fuchsia, like a fuchsia suit, when you say something nice about me. So I wanted to say hello to Josh and say thank you. And I'm going to go check him out, his stuff, because he's a Canadian as well. And so I want to go check out his stuff soon.
Absolutely. And you know what? He's a huge guy. He's got energy like you wouldn't believe. He'll probably catch this show a little bit. Smokey Nelson. He's with True North Fantasy Football.
Yeah, True North. That's it. I'm sorry. I wrote his name down, so I wanted to make sure. I should have wrote. I'm like, I'll remember True North. I'm not an idiot. And then it's spaced. Then I spaced, I should say.
Yeah, we stick to us Canadians. We stick tight together. He's got a couple of little shows, the Jet Sweep, the Smoke Show. So he's probably going to try and reach out now and get you on there. So I would recommend that if you get an opportunity to do that, because I know that would make his day for sure.
Oh my gosh. And I've got a Team Canada sweater hanging in the closet back there, and I will save it for his show if I ever get the opportunity to do it. I'm not going to invite myself onto a show or try to breathe that into existence. But if it happens, I'm just saying I've got the sweater ready to go.
Well, if you need yourself a Paul Heyman or a Bobby the Brain, I can hook this up. I can manage this. I can work this deal out.
If you can bridge that gap with Jeff and me, or Josh, excuse me, I would appreciate it.
Absolutely. Consider it done. You've got your finger kind of on the pulse of Los Angeles. We kind of talked a little bit how, well, basically from 5 p.m. on, it's kind of like hell on the highway. But what's the pulse now that Jared Goff is gone and Matt Stafford's coming in?
A lot of happy people, a lot of Angelinos. You know who the happiest people in the world are? The people who are from Detroit and they've moved to Southern California. And for whatever reason, they've continued to stick with the Lions year in, year out and everything. This was the perfect opportunity for them to now jump ship. They're like, I'm a Rams fan now. Oh, I'm sticking with my guy Stafford. Because you would have felt terrible, like, leaving. Like, it doesn't feel right to leave your hometown team, even though you're now living in Southern California. But Stafford gives you the perfect entrance into being a Rams. Like, nobody's going to think twice. Nobody's going to care. You're going to a team that's coached by Sean McVay. And unless Sean McVay ever does the John Madden and decides to retire after 10 years, or even Gruden did this as well, you're going to have the best coach, like if not the best, one of the best coaches in the NFL for over a decade. Like what a great, like I wish I could attach myself to like Mitch Trubisky or something or somebody, because I wouldn't mind like making that jump as well. Be like, I'm a Rams fan again. So like, here we are. But you know what? I think people are excited. And I think Bears fans are excited because we're not getting Jared Goff. Because for whatever reason, that was floated out there like, oh my God, why would the Bears want an unathletic version of the guy that you're getting rid of? You're like, hey, I've got a Camry. I'm going to go get a Yaris. Like, no, you don't go down. You upgrade. So it's good. I think people are excited. I think the Rams are starting to catch on. I think what the NFL should have done is they should have just made Justin Herbert go to the Rams and be like, let's be honest, like nobody really cares about the Chargers except for the 6 guys who've been in my Twitter timeline being like, why do you have Jonathan Taylor as the offensive rookie of the year? Huh? Like, okay, obviously, like, I don't have any sway, and everybody's voting for Justin Herbert, and I wanted to stick up for a running back who went out and did a great job. But outside of those kids, nobody cares about the Chargers. So just put them on the Rams and have some fun. But with Stafford in town, there's a lot of excited people. So I think it's going to be, it kind of sucks, you know, because they're the best team in the NFC right now. I mean, obviously the Buccaneers are in the Super Bowl, but now with the Rams, with Stafford, I think that's a good team.
Well, it's kind of funny because I think this may be the second most important export from Detroit to LA since Axel Foley came over back in the day.
Yeah, I wonder, like, that's probably the only reason those people still continue to be Lions fans is they've got the Axel Foley Letterman's jacket with the Lions thing. Like, that was cool. So I guess Axel Foley, I thought you were going to say Axel Rose, and I was going to be like, he's from Indiana, but you taught me. Axel Foley, you're right.
I got Calvin, one of our other co-hosts, with that the other day. He seemed to be thrown off for a loop there when I mentioned Axel Foley and Beverly Hills Cop, and it just kind of went over there. So we've got kind of a big game.
These kids don't know the classics.
No, it's rather disappointing because I literally have more children than I have fantasy football championships. I'm literally the Canadian Phillip Rivers.
Okay. No, he's got quite a few championships as well. It's just the children he has an excess of.
All right. Well, if you have free health care, I guess Canada takes care of its citizens, so it makes sense to have children.
I'm definitely bumping up that 2.2 children average up here, so someone's got to do that.
How many do you have, like, seriously?
Living in my house or who've moved out, including ones that moved out.
Some have lived. Some have already moved out.
Dude, I got grandchildren. I actually, at like 5:45 your time, I got another gender reveal party for one of my daughters.
Oh my God! I thought you were a kid. I thought you were some 20-year-old.
Oh no, I'm old.
Some Gen Z kid.
Oh, I ain't that smart. If I was that smart, I'd be able to do my own videos by now.
That's true.
But like I said, I got 9 kids living with me, and I got 5 that have already moved out. So we've hit 14.
My God. Yeah.
Like I may actually
Rivers don't know what hit him.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like Antonio Cromartie ain't got nothing on me here. So, well, he might actually, but I do that math.
How hard is it to remember their names? I've got 2, and I've got a boy and a girl, and I'll sit there and yell at one of them. I'm like, that's not even a whatever. Like, I'm not even calling. I can't even get the 2 of them situated.
You know what? I just make a lot of loud noises and sounds and see which one responds, and then they automatically go to the top of the food chain in my ranking system here. That's the hard-hitting analytics we have here.
14 kids, like that's one of the reasons why I'm always apprehensive about going on Big Brother. Is that number one, I'm not a good public pooper, so I think that would be something that would hold me back. You know, like because I would need everybody. I need everybody to leave the house if I'm going to go in and make. You know what I'm saying? So I fear that, number one. Number two, it's like not learning everybody's name and like being in week, you know, like day 34 and being like, what's that kid's name sitting over there? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. And I feel like I'm okay with names, but it's like, that is my biggest fear of like, who is this person? Like being in the confessional and the producers having to tell me like what somebody's name is. I think these are the things that I worry about in my life. This is actually something that goes on in my mind. Like when people are lying awake at night wondering, about world problems, I'm like, how would I do in Big Brother remembering everybody's name? Like that's where my mind is.
These are important issues, so I get it.
I agree. I'm with you, Rick. I would struggle with the pooping. I'm not a public pooper either, but I've had entire 45-minute phone conversations with people whose name I did not know. You're sitting there, you're waiting for that cue, yeah, okay, I know Johnny. And you're like, oh, Susan, okay, I got you now. I've had conversations where I've hung up and not knowing who I was talking to.
It happens. And when I came on here, I don't know if you noticed the trick, but Matt, I addressed you by your name. Lewis, I addressed you by your name because I know that I'm going to be looking at the camera. And if I have to remember your name on the fly, I got to have that ingrained. So, you got to do that little thing where you say somebody's name. But after day 4 of the Big Brother house, if you haven't really talked to everybody, you're like, damn it, what's that kid's name? Bald guy, and then there's the tall guy, whatever it is. So I don't know.
Well, that's why we got Slim, we got Baldy. You just kind of refer to some kind of part of that person, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, everybody's got a nickname. That's why everybody that lives in the neighborhood, like out here, every kid is Buddy. Hey, buddy, what's going on, buddy? Hey, buddy.
Here in Australia, we have that cop out as well. Everyone's mate.
Mate,
that's it. That's all you need. That's it. You're good. You can have conversations with people for a year and not know their name, but it's mate, and that's it. That's all you need. You're golden.
You guys are the best. I love Australians. I think Australians are just such great people. The only Australian I'm mad at is Adam Scott for not being a better putter. Come on. It's so frustrating. I'm such a fan. I have Uniqlo clothes for no other reason than Adam Scott. I was in New York a couple of years ago. I was in New York walking down Fifth Avenue, and there's a huge Uniqlo store. I'm like, oh my god, I gotta go! And everything's $4. So
it's so cheap.
It's a sweater for $4. How could I not have this? And I just need Adam Scott to play better. Plus, and when Patrick Reed goes out there and win, that was the thing. I don't know how much you pay attention to golf. But I was looking at the leaderboard at Torrey Pines last week, and I know we're supposed to be talking about fantasy football or whatever. But I'm watching fantasy golf. Some people play it. I don't know. But I'm looking at the leaderboard, and Patrick Reed is the only American on this leaderboard. It's all foreigners to Americans, of course. And I'm like, I want every single one of these guys to beat Patrick Reed. Anybody but the American. Please. Adam Scott was up there, and some of the others. Who else was up there? But, But I was rooting against the American. I was hoping that Adam Scott was going to pull it off. And spoiler alert, he didn't.
Yeah, I'm sorry he disappointed you, but I'll put a word out to the Australian community and relay the message onto Adam Scott that I felt Adam is upset with his putting performance, and we'll see what we can do to rectify that for you.
And I'm kind of a UNLV fan too, and I know that Bobby was talking about golf as well. So yeah, I love golf. Sorry, that's a weird aside. I know. What's funny too is I've booked a bunch of this is kind of my media day, and I'm getting to hang out with a bunch of people and talk about a bunch of cool things. I got some new clubs from Strixon, and they arrived today. Right when the first appointment started, here comes the guy with the box. I'm like, there's a box of clubs sitting here taunting me, and but I'm ready. That's the one cool thing about we were talking about LA. We don't have Jared Goff anymore. Our traffic sucks, but at least we can golf in February. So that we got that going for us.
I mean, it's probably a good thing you don't have Jared Goff anymore, right? So it's two positives, one minus. You're net one ahead there. So let's talk a little bit of football. Now we've gone around and talked golf. There is a game of football happening on I guess Sunday your time. Not sure if you've heard about that. That's going on. It's Monday morning for me here in Australia. Super Bowl Monday. It's very strange, but
what time do you have to get up for that?
Actually, the Super Bowl's at a good time. I think it's 9:30 a.m. local time. During the season, that's a different kettle of fish. 3 a.m. is my wake-up call on a Monday morning for my little date with Scott Hansen on Red Zone, but which is great. I love it, but it's 9:30 is definitely better. But Rank, what are your thoughts on the matchup? Who do you like? Who do you think's going to win? What are you betting? Just how do you see this game unfolding?
Well, as an NFL employee, I don't know what betting is.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, my mistake.
I don't know if people wager on that, Lewis. I'll have to check in. Let me ask you, though, real quick before I get into it. Do a lot of, like, is it a big thing in Australia? Are there a lot of people who are not going to go to work? Because I know, like, out here, like, even though the United States doesn't really care that much about soccer, when it's the World Cup, everybody's engaged and everybody's blowing off work. Is it like that in Australia?
You know what? That's probably a great comparison because like NFL popularity is just skyrocketing here, but still people struggle with the time zones. Like I said, early Monday morning, it's not good. But for Super Bowl, every single bar will be showing the Super Bowl. Everyone, and it's that kind of thing. It's a social event. People don't really know the rules. Everyone's going to be turning up in a Tom Brady Buccaneers jersey. That's just how it's going to go. But yeah. You've got to make a booking, right? Especially now with COVID and stuff, we can go out to bars, but you still got to make reservations. But it's hard. Everywhere's full up. Everyone wants to just be around a Super Bowl party because it's something fun. It's something different. So it's that excitement for the event itself rather than maybe the particulars of the game. I'd say like half the people there won't have a clue what's going on, but they're just there to be a part of it, like it would be with the World Cup with the U.S. men's national team.
Well, that's great. And if you get a chance to drink in the morning, I think that you got to take advantage of it. I'm on the West Coast, and back in the day, we would go to Las Vegas and things like that. And the games kick off at 10 in the morning for us. So that's always like, and having crepuscular beers like March Madness with the NCAA basketball tournaments the same way as well. So that's always a lot of fun. Any reason to go out there and drink in the morning, I think, is a great reason.
Absolutely.
But to go back to the game, you know, this is really fun because this feels like a main event Super Bowl. Now, every year the Super Bowl is huge. But when you have the Falcons in there, it's kind of like when it's a WrestleMania and they have like a lesser person in it. They're like, oh, like we had like the original card that we had planned didn't work out. So now we're throwing in one of our mid-carders. Like, no disrespect to the Falcons, but you're a mid-carder. Like, I'm watching it. Like, I will watch WrestleMania. You know, I'm trying to think of
David Arquette.
Yeah, you know, like that. Like, a little bit more, but like if Ricochet is headlining wrestling, no disrespect to Ricochet, but like you're a mid-carder. Like, again, you're making a great living and everything like that, but if Ricochet is fighting Roman Reigns, that WrestleMania main event does not have the chutzpah of like Roman Reigns and like Kevin Owens, who he was fighting during the Royal Rumble or somebody like that. So this is really a great just Super Bowl, like not just the teams, but like great, like one of the best quarterbacks of all time, if not the greatest of all time, according to a lot of people. Then, of course, you have Patrick Mahomes, who's one of the most exciting players that we've seen enter the league since, I don't know, Michael Vick or somebody like that, who really revolutionized the NFL. And so you hope that it's going to live up to that hype, that it's going to be a high-scoring game with a bunch of intrigue and everything like that. And I think that it will be. I think what we've seen out of the Kansas City Chiefs is that they've been so good that at times they almost seem bored with playing football. We saw it last year. They fell behind the Houston Texans 24-0 before they rallied to win that game. You know, this year, the Browns gave them a little bit of a scare. They got behind the Buffalo Bills, who jumped out to a 9-0 lead. And yet you saw in that mic'd up segment with Mecole Hardman, who had the fumble, like the Chiefs were just not concerned about anything. Like, yeah, whatever. Like, I know we're losing, but we'll get it back. To the point they went out and got a touchdown to Mecole Hardman. So they're not only so good, like, we'll get it back, but we'll also give you a touchdown so you feel better and you're not sitting here morose while the rest of us are celebrating. And they've got a good matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because as good as the Bills were, it still seemed like the Bills were like, it's such a great like underdog story, like a plucky team, and maybe they can do it. When you look at the Buccaneers and their ability to score points, and you look at Tom Brady and all the offensive weapons, like this is one team that when they're matched up against the Chiefs, like you could go weapon for weapon, because we were looking at, there was an Instagram post for the NFL Network of like, which receiving core would you want? Would you want Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Hardman, or would you want Godwin, Evans, and Gronk? And a lot of people are like, Chiefs easy. I'm like, it's not that easy. I know that Kelsey's great, but it's like the Chiefs or the Buccaneers have a couple of great wide receivers, you know, like, and they didn't stop there. That was one of the most impressive things, that unlike the Green Bay Packers, who are like, hey, Aaron, you got us to the NFC Championship game. We're gonna draft your replacement and not a guy who can help you this year. The Buccaneers did the opposite with Tom Brady, and they said, what can we do to help you out? Like, they had a pretty good team already. Then they went out and they added Rob Gronkowski. They added Antonio Brown, who might or might not be able to go on Sunday, and Leonard Fournette, and like added players to a roster that was already pretty good. So I think that this is going to be one of the best matchups that we've seen in quite some time. I think it's going to hopefully be one of the best games that we've seen in quite some time, but I still have the Chiefs favored in this one.
All right, I think we've talked enough about football now for the show, so we're going to move on.
I tried to kill it all in one stretch.
Beautiful.
That was perfect. So I was going to go into the matchup versus the matchup, but we've already got the wide receivers and the tight end matchup as being the key thing here. Carlton Davis is going to have his hands full against Tyreek Hill, so hopefully he learned something from him from looking at his backside last time they played. So
I will say this too, and I know with Eric Fisher, his availability being an issue. When you look at how great the Buccaneers were 2 weeks ago going up against Aaron Rodgers, putting pressure on him and really haranguing Rodgers, and JPP looked great, and they got Ndamukong Suh and all those guys. The thing is, this season, when he's been blitzed, Patrick Mahomes has not thrown an interception. I think his passer rating somewhere in the 130s. He's got 15 touchdowns to no interceptions when he's facing the blitz. So I don't know, like, you can almost just remove the offensive line. It feels like Patrick Mahomes is going to find a way to get the ball into the hands of his receivers. So I'm interested to see how that plays out as well.
Yeah, he's just a cheat code. He's the build a character on Madden that you just juice every stat to 99. It doesn't matter. You put your quarterback as kick return skills of 99. It doesn't matter. You just jack it all up, and that's what Mahomes is. He truly is a freak, and will be far more mobile than Aaron Rodgers as well. So, the Tampa Bay D-line is going to have their hands full for sure.
It'll be one of those things like the creative player thing was really huge. So I played a lot of the NCAA football game, and I know that EA Sports announced that the college football game will be returning in a couple of years here. But you would create that guy and go and win the Heisman. You would create him for and recruit him to Utah State or UNLV or Fresno or something like that, and then you get him there, and then you win the Heisman with him. So that's what Mahomes is kind of like.
Yeah, no question. I enjoyed your tweet about creating a dynasty at UNLV. That did make me chuckle.
And you know what? And they're going to have that new stadium. Like I was always trying to recruit guys to come to Sam Boyd Stadium, a glorified high school field. I always felt it was tough, and I would always make it a player by the name of Jesse Bell, which was my grandmother's name, and it was a running back, a big running back who wore number 7. And I guess Fournette wore 7 at LSU, so it's kind of like that. And that was always my Heisman trophy, because that team always sucked when you first started, and you weren't getting a lot of good recruits, so you're running the ball 40 times a game. Turn the injuries off and just run that guy and win him the Heisman.
That's the way. I actually did acquire myself an old Xbox 360 during lockdown and a copy of NCAA 14. So I was putting some hard hours into building myself a dynasty.
Nice. It's a lot of fun.
It is a ton of fun. All right, moving on from football, Adam, we've been asking all of our guests this question, right? So if you're coming in to throw the 9th inning or coming down into the ring, what's your entrance music going to be? What are you picking to let everyone know it's about to go down?
Okay, well, if I was walking to the ring, which means I would be a professional wrestler, which means I would not borrow a wrestler's theme. Like if I'm in AEW and I'm going out to face Cody, not Rhodes, don't want to get sued, but if I'm going out to face Cody, I think my music would have to be a little bit different. I would have to take some commercialized music, and this is the one song that I always go back to is Remedy by the Black Crowes, because I feel like it's just got a cool start or whatever. And when I make radio, I make weekly radio appearance for this KNBR in San Francisco, and they always play Remedy for me. So it's kind of it's like kind of my theme song. But if I was closing games out for the Angels and professional wrestling music was available to me, and I know that we had a closer by the name of Hansel Robles who came out to the Undertaker's theme, obviously that's been taken now. I think I would come out to the Undisputed Era's music, and I don't know if I could kind of time it out to get to the mound by the time for the boom, but I think that would be a nice little touch as well.
Nice. A little choreography, a little timing, a little bit of showmanship on the way out. I can dig it.
It really is all about the showmanship, isn't it?
Right. I mean, I might be giving up a 3-run bomb to blow the lead, but I would look pretty damn cool coming out. And Mark Gubizon is the color commentator for the Angels, and he's also a wrestling fan as well. So I know that he would appreciate it, but then, I don't know how long I would last if I was giving up a lot of bombs or stuff like that. But for the short term, I would look pretty sick.
Look good, feel good, throw good. That's it.
There it is.
So another thing we've been asking is, how did you get into fantasy football? Like, I know you started writing, I think it was 1995-ish, give or take, but how did you get your foot into the door and kind of tied into, like, were you a big baseball guy growing up, or were you a football player? Was there that tie-in? What was a young Adam like?
I loved all sports. I was really into everything, basketball, baseball, hockey even, and of course football. And, I would always harangue sports writers, send them emails or anything like that. And, and just, I was involved in it in just, once it turned out that I wasn't going to be a professional athlete, I thought that this was the next best thing. And it was really at the behest of one of my friend's mothers growing up, because she was an educator. And I remember when I was starting at Cal State Fullerton, I was a business major. Nobody in my family had ever gone to college, so I don't know what I was doing, and I was like filling stuff out, and like business just seems like it's the most banal thing. Like, yeah, of course, business. Like it seems like it covers everything. But my friend's mother was talking to me during a Thanksgiving holiday one year, and she's like, "Why?" And I was telling her that I didn't like, I'm like, I hate these classes. Like, it kind of like it's over my head. Like, I'm having a hard time keeping up. And she's like, well, you were so good at writing. Like, why don't you just major in that? And I'm like, I didn't know you could do that. Like, really? She's like, oh, you could be a journalism major and, go on and learn how to be a sports writer. I'm like, you can do that? Like, I didn't know. Like, I didn't know the steps. And so I leaned on some of the guys. This is actually, as much as fraternities suck, like, this was actually a very helpful thing for me. Cause like there were guys in the fraternity who were communications majors who kind of helped me along the way. I didn't have an older, none of my older siblings went to college, so I didn't really have anybody to lean on. So that kind of helped out. And then just started, going at it that way and covering sports and covering, like, I went to Cal State Fullerton, so our baseball team was amazing. So I covered that. And funny enough, like one of the reasons why I wanted to go to Cal State Fullerton was to try to walk on to the baseball team just to see where my skill level was. And apparently it wasn't there. So it wasn't like I wasn't, those guys, like, so, it's so funny. Like, whenever I hear somebody who has a story of like, oh yeah, I was going to play ball in college, but I got hurt. And blah. I'm like, no, you didn't. Because if you were good enough, they would have kept you around. Like, I knew a guy, my buddy Tony, who had Tommy John surgery in college. And then eventually, hung around long enough, got to finally pitch, won a College World Series, and things like that. But it's just one of those things. Like, if you were good enough, they would have invested in you. You didn't get hurt and lost. No, that doesn't happen. You were not good enough, and it's so hard for people to understand that. Like, you're just not. Like, at some point, the road ends for you. Like, you're just not, like, it's a funnel. Like, you think about all the people who play in junior high. And then it gets funneled to high school, then college, and then all that's all the way up to the professional ranks. And just going out, like when I played baseball, like I could hit the ball really far. I could run really fast. I had a decent enough arm, but I didn't make a lot of contact as much as other people. And just watching these guys who are playing on the Cal State Fullerton team, like even in batting practice, just not missing. You're like, yeah, it's not me. Like you're like, it's just, you can't be bummed out about it. You're like, this guy's just really good. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, this guy's better than me. And I know as an athlete, it's always tough to make that, to admit that. But for me, it was, pretty, I have eyes. Like, I'm not going to fool myself. Like, yeah, this guy's better than me. So I go into the sports writing and do all this stuff. And, to make a longer story longer, I did the college newspaper stuff. I wrote for the LA Times covering high school sports, applied for an internship with NFL Publishing, and as luck would have it, the guy who was doing it, who was doing the hiring, was an old LA Times guy. So my interview was all, hey, did you know this guy? Did you know Craig Stanky? Who is your, is Bob Rohr still there? Was he the editor? Did you know Earl Bloom? Like a lot of that stuff. And like after 20 minutes, he's like, okay, I'll let you know. I'm like, you didn't ask me one single question about anything that I do. You just asked me who I knew. I'm like, okay. It seemed positive. He was very excited. So I did that. And then once I got into that internship, like I was like every year, because I still had a couple of years left in school, like every year I'd be like, hey, can I come back? And I come back, and I kept doing it. I had an internship with the Dodgers minor league team one time too. So I was just trying to accumulate as much experience as possible, and then just stuck around. Like I will tell you this, and again, to make this incredibly long story even longer.
Keep it going.
The third year, it was the third year. I'm still interning. And it's a lot of fun. Like I'm working for the NFL. Like it was cool. Like I was underage for part of it. Like it's a cool thing. Like I work for the NFL. Like what could be cooler than this? And so I was out of school, and usually at the end of the summer we would have a send off or anything like that, but they didn't. And Chuck Garrity, who was the manager, was on vacation, and he goes, and so he was gone, and I was finally of age, and I was drinking at a bar called Cassidy's in Newport Beach, and I was talking to my friend, and I said, you know what? Especially because I was getting paid. I was getting paid like $8 an hour, $11 an hour, something stupid. I think by this time it was $11 an hour. And I said, you know what? I go, I didn't have to fill out any paperwork. I'm just going to show up for work. And I feel like I'll get at least 2 weeks out of this. And, if nothing else, I'll get paid for 2 more weeks. I was still, food runner at the Irvine Improv, so I was still like making. At that point, I felt I was making bank, so I just kept going and just doing that. And then he comes back after 2 weeks, and I'm still there. And he's like, "What are you working on?" And I had gotten involved in this project. Ron Mix was putting out a trading card set, and I was doing a bunch of research for it. I'm like, "Oh yeah, Peterson's got me working on this Ron Mix trading card set." And he just goes, all right. And he just walks away. Like, okay, cool. And then a couple months down the road, he just shows up with a Post-it note being like, oh, by the way, like you can't intern here forever. And I'm like, oh shit. And he goes, oh no, it's cool. He's like, we're just going to hire you. Like, here's what you'll be making. And you're like, oh my God, I made it. And so, and I know like this again, I know this is an incredibly long story. At some point I end up with NFL Media, NFL.com. The publishing group goes away. I end up with NFL Media. I'm working on the desk, editing news stories, like putting AP stories on the site. I'm like, and I told my supervisor, I said, this job, like this, I don't know, man. Like I love working for the NFL, but this isn't very exciting. I want to write a little bit more, and I want to do some other things. And he goes, I'll make you a deal. He's like, if you will edit all of the fantasy content, I'll let you write for it. And I said, okay, because there was like the NFL, the NFL network had like 12 rows of cubicles. NFL.com had 2. And there was one person who was doing fantasy. And so he's like, if you edit his stuff, then you can write a column too. And if that's enough for you, then you can stick around. And I'm like, of course, I'd love to do that. And then started doing that because they were like, you love fantasy, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in. Because I was really into fantasy. Like I loved it, I was always talking about it and totally into it. I think my league of record by this, because this is like right around 2007. So my league of record was already 6 years in. And I was always, in the newsroom being upset, if I was working the Monday night game and like I remember it was Favre in overtime. Was it Greg Jennings? They had an overtime game against the Broncos. And I lost, and like whatever. So I was a known like fantasy person. So they put me on this, and then as luck would have it, the following year they started doing on-demand videos, and they're like, "Well, you're working. Why don't you jump in these all on-demand videos as well?" So I'm like, "Cool." It was Fabs and me and Lindsey Rhodes, and so we were doing that. And then the following year, it was they started NFL Fantasy Live as a Sunday morning only thing, and that was Fabs, Damashek, Michelle Beisner was the host. And we did that, and that was a once a week, and then it became a daily show. And then, it is what it is today. Finally, the NFL realized like, hey, people are into fantasy football. And now just sitting here looking at everybody and like all the content that's being created and all the great voices that are out there and so many different people, so many points of view. And it's so fun to see how the industry has exploded And so that is the longest story. I know that everybody's clicked out by now, and everybody's like, I cannot believe this guy can talk this long without. See, I've done stand-up, so I know how to go forever, and I'll keep going. But that's the long story of it, and I'm sorry for taking up everybody's time.
Hey, the more you speak, the less I have to. It's fantastic. That's called good hosting right there.
Excellent hosting.
No one's here to hear me. No one clicked in to see me talk. They're here to see you, Adam.
Stop.
That's fantastic.
They probably came in. They're like, "Oh, it's rank. Why are they still giving this guy a platform? I'm out." Boom.
Half the people don't even realize who I am, so I think we're safe. This is like a safe place here. No one quite gets there. I'm going to throw this clip on here real quick because I want to make sure we get this in before we get too far along. Ready?
Fantasy freaks and geeks. He is the Macho Man Ranky Savage.
Oh yeah, the cream always rises to the top. Oh yeah,
I am
Hulk Hogan, and what you gonna do, brother?
Oh yeah, when the fantasy danger zone runs wild on you.
Oh yeah,
Celebrating, as you saw, the 4th anniversary, the 4th birthday,
the 4th year of carrying you, brother. Oh yeah.
No, dude, but let's not talk about carrying me. That's kind of
It's a joke, obviously.
I mean, but still, it's not.
Dude, it's a joke.
Let's
It's the danger zone. We joke around.
Cut that. 3, 2, 1.
He is the Macho Man Ranky Savage. Oh yeah, the cream always rises to the top. Oh yeah,
And I am Hulk Hogan.
what you gonna do, brother?
Hey,
Oh, I'm sorry. I know.
don't jump my line.
Why are you so serious about this?
Don't jump my line. It's not. I'm not asking for a lot.
I can't have a little joke at the top. That's not allowed. And now I can't. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Cut that.
It's a fun segment.
Stop.
He is the Macho Man Ranky Savage.
Cream to the top, Slim Jim, snap into it.
Come on, man.
No, I just don't
You're
understand.
gonna no sell this? I don't
No,
understand.
I tried to
Come
have
on,
fun
man.
before,
Come on.
and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, like you're like you got so sensitive about it. Like
It's 4 years of the fantasy
We have a
danger
cake.
zone, man. It's 4
Look,
years.
we went down.
It's 4 years of the fantasy
We got a little
danger zone.
cake.
What? Come on, man. Are you serious?
Yes, I'm
Are you
serious.
serious? You're gonna throw a cake
Dude,
at me? Are you gonna get? What are you doing?
So sick of this.
Oh.
This. You know what? So tired of this.
Oh.
Every week, the same thing. Oh, hotline bling, just rap lyrics, numbers. You want to look at the numbers? Here's the number. I'm number 1. Danger zone. It's dead.
I think that was one of my favorite skits to turn into on the NFL Network was the Danger Zone. You and James were fantastic, but this is behind the grind. What has happened in the 4 years or so that have come and gone since then? Because that was like the ending of something great.
Well, you know what happened is I rose to the top, and James Coe is no longer in this industry. Nobody's ever heard of James Coe. I put him on the map, and without me, I'm just kidding. No. I did breaking kayfabe there. Yeah, you know what? That was sincerely some of the best things that we have. It was the most fun, and it was such a riot to be on the set, because we would never know what we're doing. We're not rehearsing together or doing anything like that. And just when he would do his thing, and it was always there was a formula to it. Like mine was always like a 6 degrees of separation of like, this guy went to SMU, which was the home of Bobby Ewing and blah blah blah, and it works out like that's why you start CeeDee Lamb. Like, what? Where did he come from? And James would always do things with numbers. And it would always come down to a thing and be like, look at the numbers. And you saw it there as I was walking away. Like, if you want to look at the numbers, I'm number 1, like that. So it was always, and it just sitting there and just watching him do that stuff and not knowing, and you knew it was going somewhere cool. And you knew it was something, like, how is this all coming together? I felt like, a lot of times I felt like Terry Benedict as he's realizing how they hacked into his vault and stole all that money. You're like, oh my God, that's genius. And just being blown away. And so it is, it was the high time. Like that is like, if you look back, if there was a Fantasy Live, like retrospective or something like that, that would be having the Danger Zone was like the Monday Night Wars of Fantasy Live. Like that was the peak, like right there. Like that's when everything was coming together and it was so much fun. And just looking around and just thinking about, like doing things like it's also fun too, is when stuff like that is going on and we're ever doing things like that, is you can kind of catch a peek on the people who are, on the other set and like looking over and like watching, like you can see like Colleen Wolfe or Marcus like dying laughing, just being so amused by everything that was going on. I think that was actually the best part because like, we're doing a TV show. You don't know. It's not like doing stand-up where there's an audience that's instantly giving you feedback. But when you see, your co-hosts up there having as much fun as you are, even though they aren't in the segment, I think that was a lot of fun. And actually, and I joke about James. James has gone on to do some incredible stuff. And if you watch his videos, so good. And I know he's going up for an award this year for original videos. I hope he gets it. I don't know when they're going to announce it. It's the FSWA. And I know his Bob Ross stuff and a lot of the sketches that he was doing, that he's getting the accolades for it that he clearly deserves. So it's been amazing watching him perform and kick ass. I'm a little bummed out that we're not doing it together anymore. But you know what? Never say never. You know what? Like you think about like Guns N' Roses got back together. You see whenever you watch the Royal Rumble, you're like, oh my God, here comes Victoria or whomever. Like somebody like, oh my God. So I'm always waiting for that day that James Coe music hits and we are reunited once again.
Rank, I gotta say, like you would to many people, I've got a pretty cool job, a pretty awesome job that you get to talk about fantasy. But I gotta say, as someone who works in Big Four professional services for a living, the fact that you get to beat your colleagues with a tray is probably the thing that might be most appealing there. Because that happens sometimes.
He assured me that it wasn't going to hurt, and I was just really scared. And I was trying not to catch his face, so it actually turns out to be some like sort of spanking. But I'm like, which to me kind of plays off funnier too, because like I didn't really want to hurt him, so I'm trying not to like really wreck him. By the way, he had a meeting. He had a meeting after that too, and he had to go and do it with like cake frosting all over his jeans. I mean, we only get one take at that, and so. So I was pretty happy with the way that turned out.
So we want to be mindful of your time here, Adam, but I got a couple real quick questions I want to hit. You've been doing this for a long time, especially at the NFL Network. You've seen so many great talented writers and people and content creators come and go and move on. Who are some of the ones that you respect, whose relationships you cherish the most? You kind of talked about James Cole, with the chemistry you guys had there a little bit, but there's been so many. Who are some of the ones that you're grateful to come across at some point?
Well, I've really appreciated what Matt Harmon has been able to do over at Yahoo. And I think that he's one of those guys who's probably, going to be the biggest, like you think of it like this is going to be the biggest star of our industry, like somebody who has the charisma and has great knowledge. And I love reception, perception, and what he's been able to do. And I think the world of him and what he's done. I also love Graham Barfield. When both these guys, losing both of these guys, along with James, like I think of those three guys of like, God, like this was such a talented cast. It was kind of like whenever you look back at some of the old Second City things and you see Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert, like, oh my God, like they were in the Second City and they went on to go do these other things. And I feel like that's the way it's going to look for us and be like, oh my gosh, like those guys were on Fantasy Live and now they're huge stars. Like even Colleen, Colleen came aboard the NFL Media Group for NFL Now and then started working with us, hosting NFL Fantasy Live. And now she's doing Thursday Night Football and is absolutely crushing it. And then this season, we brought in Kimmy Chex into a full-time role. She did some stuff with us with Fantasy League One last year, but then she stepped into a larger role in 2020 and has been crushing it. Now she's out there at Super Bowl week, and you look at her and what she's been able to do, and you're like, God, there's somebody too that's just going to be such a huge star. And it's just so fun like to be attached to them. Like I feel like I'm now like, this is going to sound so cocky, but it's like, like when you feel like when you're one of those older wrestlers, like my job is to now get other people over. Like I want people to succeed, and I want people to reach their dreams and what they want to do. Like I'm living like my dream. Like this is it. My wife, as a matter of fact, found a piece of paper from a number of years ago. I was actually applying for a job at CBS Sportsline, and and I had these going. This was before I was doing fantasy with us. And it was like these goals about like, I want to be big in the fantasy industry. I want to be viewed as somebody, as knowledgeable and respected and all that stuff. And, honestly, at that point, only Matthew Berry was the guy, and he's still the GOAT. So he's still the guy. Like nobody's passed him by any stretch of the imagination. But that was the thing. Like, I want to be like a tenth of how good that guy is. And, I've been able to go out there, and I've been blessed to be able to do what I do and get an opportunity to go out there and have fun. And I got to assure everybody who's listening or watching or anything like that, I honestly, I appreciate it every day. I know that this is a privileged job that millions of people would love to do. And I take it seriously every day. And that's why I work so hard at it and try to be as entertaining as possible. And I know that I annoy people probably, but like I just want to keep doing stuff. I just want to keep going. And I feel like it's my obligation to everybody who would love to do what I do, that I continue to strive and try to get better every day and every time that I'm on writing or doing a hit or doing whatever it is. I want to continue to be, improving every time I get out there.
What's that one piece of advice that you would give someone who's watching right now if they have they want to try and make it in this industry or make a name for themselves in any way, shape, or form?
I think that you just have to have the perseverance to not go away. Just people that refuse to leave. That to me is probably one of your biggest skills. I know everybody's got a great point of view and everybody's working as hard as they can, but think about like how many times, I have this conversation with a lot of people. Like, I want to do what you do. I want to do this. I want to, and you'll see them like on Instagram. Let's say like they're on Instagram, and I've seen this, and I'll go back and I pay attention to this stuff because I really want to know. Like a couple of years ago, somebody's like, I really want to get into this. I was on somebody's show and we did a thing, and I went back and checked their Instagram, and they haven't posted since 2018. Now they might have gotten another job or they might have taken another route, and that's what happens. I think back. I mean, I could go all the way back to college. There were two guys that I was in college with who were my classmates. One of them was Tom Bray. Another guy was Jeff Goldblum. Not Jeff Goldblum, Jeff Goldbaum. Excuse me. Not Jeff Goldblum. I'm not that old. I'm not that talented. But Jeff Goldbaum, like both of these guys were in my class. And if they weren't, like they were probably better. Like they're better than me. Like it's like when I was out on the field, like watching Mark Kotze rope baseballs and being like, I'm not as good as that guy. These two guys were also better than me in what I wanted to do, which was broadcast television and writing. I might have been a stronger writer, but those broadcasters, they were way better. But, as past, as circumstances change and, you decide to take a different career path or whatever you choose, your priority is, it's all about sticking with it, and I stuck with it, and I was able to get there. I mean, even if you think about people who become talented, TV stars, comedians, musicians, it's always the people, like obviously you've got to have talent, but it's always the people who refuse to go away. And that's what I would tell, like, don't go away. Don't let people tell you that you can't do this, because you can. It just takes time. I remember, like I know that I told like an 80-minute story about my rise to mediocrity. But the thing is there's a part in there where I didn't even talk about. Like I got laid off for a bit, because the publishing group got downsized. I worked for the Orange County Register. I was making $17,000 a year. I was doing my own blog. It was annoying my wife. Like, you're really just putting so much time into this blog. And then eventually, you know what? I got on to AOL Fan House and got back with the NFL and all this stuff. And because I had always, like, even though I was laid off, I was still working for the NFL, like as a contract, like a seasonal employee. Like I was ghostwriting Collinsworth's column and stuff like that. So, and Collinsworth's a cool guy, by the way. But anyways, I know, sick name drop. Anyways, but the thing is like, I could have easily gone out and I could have, just accepted some other job. I started, looking into sales jobs or perhaps going into real estate or anything like that. But at some point, I had to make the decision that this is what I wanted to do. And if you are also at that point, like you feel like this is something that you want to do, don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it. You have so many mediums to go out there and get your voice out there. Twitter, Facebook, just social media alone, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Like Instagram hasn't really been dominated by anybody yet. There's not a great fantasy TikTok person yet. Like find your niche, find your way in this fantasy world and make it happen. Like that's it. That is my number one piece of advice is don't go away and good things will happen.
Yeah. Keep turning up to that internship that no one said anything about. Just keep turning up until they drag you out.
Yeah. It's like Rank was acting as like Office Space there. All he cared about was the stapler. He kept on showing up to work and
Ron Livingston left me $300,000. Yeah, that's exactly how it happened.
Perfect. We want to get out of here. I know we're a little bit rolling a little bit late here, but can we get you to you're going to do a little bit of an outro, what people can see, where they can find you, what you're doing in the off season, probably more important than everything. But can you give us one of those awkward things that you hear on the on XM radio, like, hi, Jared Goff, and you're listening to the ViperCast, something like that we could kind of cut and then put on later and kind of hang our hat on.
You want it known as the ViperCast, not the Dynasty Vipers? What are we doing, ViperCast?
We can go with the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast. It's big, it's long,
that's too many words to remember.
Let's go with the ViperCast.
My big fear, the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast. Hey everybody, this is Adam Rank from NFL Network, and you are listening to the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast.
Perfect. That works for us. Fantastic. We're going to cut that. That's going to go on everything. But let everyone know what you're up to here in the offseason, and then we'll just kind of kick it on out of here.
Hey, everybody. This is Adam Rank from NFL Media. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Adam Rank NFL. And, of course, like and subscribe the Adam Rank Podcast, available wherever you download podcasts. Sorry, that was super cheesy, but I was in the moment now.
That's it. You got to go with it.
That's rivaling Money. That's rivaling Money Smith. Dude, there on
Money,
that almost.
Let me tell you a story about Matt Money Smith. I grew. This is another part of the origin story that we didn't get into because I was spending so much time talking about other things. But because I really love talking, but I love radio. Like I love LA sports radio. I remember when Jim Rome was just starting out. He was a Saturday scrub. We used to call his show before it even became The Jungle. Like we used to call his show. And so Kevin and Bean was a local duo out here, and anybody in the Southern California area will no doubt be familiar with them. They gave birth to people like Jimmy Kimmel, Adam Carolla, Carson Daly, and of course Matt Money Smith was the sports guy. So he was out and he was doing local radio here as well. And after the first year, after Michelle Beisner went on to go do something else, we brought in a host and we were trying out a bunch of people. Actually, no, we brought in Andrew. Here's a funny story. We brought in Andrew Siciliano to be the host of NFL Fantasy Live. I don't know if I should be telling this, but I think that who cares? If they want to reprimand me, whatever. Like I don't think this is a bad story. Like Andrew came in and was so good. Like, Andrew, like he's so good. They're like, oh, we need him to do Total Access. So he wasn't even I don't even think he served a day as the host of NFL Fantasy Live, but he blew everybody away. And so they pulled him on to go do Total Access because he's amazing. And so they're like, well, we got to get two people in here. So they brought in Jason Smith, who is he's a local guy as well, overnight guy on ESPN radio. I was familiar with him, but it was still cool. Like Jason's great. But Matt Money Smith, I was starstruck, like even more so than, like they'll bring in Michael Irvin. You're like, Michael Irvin, that's cool. You're like, oh my God, Matt Money Smith's here. Like, this is like, oh my God. Like, it was really like, I was intimidated. And I don't know after working with, listen, Matt hopefully considers me a friend. And I consider him a friend and everything like that. I still get blown away. Like if I have to do stuff with Money, like if I was called to do something with Money today, I would still be a little blown away because he is so good. He is so good. Like it's so impressive. And you're like, I guess, again, this is like seeing Mark Kotze spraying baseballs all around the field from the left-handed batter's box of watching Matt Money Smith. You're like, oh my God, this guy's so good. So good at what he does.
Yeah, no, I whenever I listened to him when he was on the NFL Network, it was like, dude, this is enjoyable. I don't even have to like know what he's talking, just to hear him talk. You know what I mean? Just his voice and everything he had. You're like, all right, whatever he's selling, I'm buying.
So smart. Like he is like legitimately like I feel like I don't think I'm smart. I think I'm clever. Mad Money Smith is just freaking smart. And you can't get anything past him either, too. Like you don't even try. I still try because I do what I do. But yeah, what is Bobby saying? Oh yeah, you saw I did take a photo of my new driver, my new Srixon driver. I got Srixon clubs. I feel like that's a good brand. Like it's an underrated brand.
Hey, my drivers are still made of wood, so we're just gonna put it right there. I've still got the old school ones.
The persimmons, I love it.
Yeah, I still can't get up with everyone else here. But Rank, really appreciate your time. Love the fact you're coming on. Hopefully we can get you on again here in the future as soon as you can get on, because I still have a bunch of stuff I want to ask you about.
Did you have a bunch of questions and I didn't, and I just blew through with my dumb anecdotes or whatever?
No, you know what? Honestly, the questions weren't that good. So I'm kind of glad you give me some more time to actually get better questions. So we're feeling pretty good about this. I'm glad we kind of went around. When we get into the Viper pit here, or the rabbit hole, or whatever you want to call it, I just let it go and see where it goes. That's the best part of the show. That's when you're getting the true feeling of the person you're talking with, right? It's not rehearsed. It's, hey, let's see where this thing goes. And again, appreciate your time. And this may be one of my favorite episodes I've ever done. So,
oh my gosh, you're too kind. Thank you for saying that. No, I had a lot of fun. It was great talking to you guys, and I'd be happy to come back at some point during the off season. And yeah, it'd be great.
All right. So for Lewis there, Lewis, you want to say something real quick?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for Adam coming on. Thanks for Matt for bringing me in here. As I'm not as good looking as Calvin and Jeff, but I'm glad I could fill the void, and excited to be on board with the Dynasty Vipers. I'll be writing some content for the website as well, so you can check all of that out there. You can give me a follow on Twitter there. But yeah, man, Adam, thanks so much for coming on. It was a pleasure to meet you and to chat a little bit of football and a lot of other stuff with you. It was a real good time. So really appreciate you sharing all those stories as well.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. The pleasure was all on this side of the microphone right here. I appreciate you guys.
All right, and just like that, that is episode 38 of the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast with Adam Rank. Tune in later on. We got Bob Harris coming on here in, I don't know. What time is it now? It's 3:30 your time. Yeah, I got him coming on at 10 Eastern tonight. He's the nightcap.
A superstar. Oh my gosh. I was opening for Bob Harris. That's good. I feel
we got
put that at the
fantasy
top of the resume.
A fantasy sports writer, whatever, FSWA Hall of Famer apparently. So
like one of the goats, yeah. One of the like if there was like a Mount Rushmore of like fantasy analysts or whatever, like he would be there, right?
Right.
Obviously.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Dude's got energy to burn too, man. Good. I've never seen anyone with that much energy. Like I don't know how I'm going to keep up with him.
He's such a nice man, and he's like super supportive. And I'm like, and honestly, the fantasy industry is pretty good about supporting one another, but he's just like, he goes above and beyond. So I really love that Bob Harris.
All right, Bob, you heard it. We all love you. See you later.